Okay, this is the verb section. At this stage in year 9, in the end of semester 1, these are the verbs you need to know. The ER verbs, the RE verbs, and the IR verbs. These are the three families of regular verbs. Then you need to know the verb to be, être, the verb to have, avoir, the verb aller, to go, and the verb faire, to do. You also need to know the verb prendre, which is slightly irregular, and of course, the last thing we've seen this semester are the reflexive verbs. But the reflexive verbs have a regular conjugation. They just, you need to know the reflexive pronouns. Je me, tu te, il se, nous, nous, vous, vous, il se. Okay, so the first verb, number 1, qu'est-ce que vous prenez? Okay, the verb prendre is je prends, tu prends, il prend. Nous prenons, not nous prendons, but nous prenons, one N. Vous prenez, one N, ils prennent, double N. Okay, the next verb, quitter, is a regular ER verb, so nous quittons, or an S ending. Si tu descends, it's a RE verb, so the endings for RE verbs, SS, nothing. So take off the RE and go SS, nothing. Qu'est-ce que tu fais ce week-end? Okay, so that's the verb faire becomes qu'est-ce que tu fais? Richard et Benoît, attendre is a RE verb, so you take off the RE and you add ENT. So Richard et Benoît can be replaced by ils in the plural, they, so ENT. Nous commençons, watch out, it has to be ONS, but you need to have the cédilla. Okay, verbs like commence, nous commençons or nous mangeons, we eat, have an extra E, and nous mangeons, G-E-O-N-S to keep the sound je, and nous commençons is the same. Then vous commencez, il commence, so you only need the cédilla for the new form. The next one, réfléchir, is an IR verb, IS, IS, IT. Ils sont, IC, is at the endings. So Daniel is like he, il réfléchit, IT. The next one is a reflexive verb, which is se réveiller, IR verb, and it has to be je me réveille with an E. So it's a normal ER verb, but you need to have the reflexive pronoun je me. Nous mangeons. There you go, I was talking about that one. Nous mangeons. It's actually called a semi-regular verb because it's not entirely irregular, but it's not entirely regular. So nous commençons, nous mangeons. The next one is choisir. So IR verb, so vous choisissez, that's the ending, IC is the ending. Amélie et Véronique, they go, elles vont. Mes cousins, they have 15 years. Remember, for the verb, for the age, we say to have. So mes cousins, it's they. J'ai, tu as, il a. Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. 13 is another reflexive verb. Je me, tu, te. And the tu will bring you the es endings. And je me, tu t'amuses. You're having fun. You enjoy yourself. Les magasins, they, ENT, because the verb is ER verb. Les magasins ferment. Same. Tourner is another ER verb. Il tourne, ENT. The next one, se dépêcher, is a reflexive again. Je me dépêche, tu te dépêches, il se dépêche. Nous nous dépêchons, vous vous dépêchez. EZ endings and the reflexive pronouns. Vous vous dépêchez. Sébastien et Caroline s'excusent. So ER verb again in the reflexive. They excuse themselves, they apologize. So ENT with s'excuse because Sébastien and Caroline is the equivalent of il in the plural, ILS. Les parents de Marion, there's going to be the RE verb, vend, so ENT. You take off the RE, les parents de Marion vendent. And les enfants, IR verb, les enfants remplissent, so I-S-S-E-N-T ending. And the next one's a bit tricky comprendre, to understand. You can see the conjugation. Here you can see in infinitive, you can see prendre. So it's going to work like prendre. Nous comprenons, vous comprenez. Okay? So apprendre, comprendre, surprendre are all verbs that have prendre in it. So the conjugation will be like prendre. Est-ce que vous comprenez with one N? So make sure that you are familiar with all the verbs we've seen this unit, this semester. You need to practice the verbs. Go on Language Perfect. Watch at the end of your Touché 4 book because you will have all the verbs there. Jump on Language Perfect, practice them. You need to be totally comfortable with them. Exercise 2 is about locations. How do you say near, far from, next to, and so on. In French, they come in two categories. The ones that take de, like près de, loin de, near, far from, en face de, opposite, à gauche, à côté de, near, next to, à gauche de, à droite de. And all those ones, they take de. And these de will change according to the gender and the number of what comes next. And then you've got other ones which are much easier to deal with because they are just going to take one word, devant, derrière, sous, sur, dans, in front of, behind, under, on top, inside. Okay, so once if you remember that, it just becomes pretty much a vocabulary exercise when you need to find out what's coming next is masculine, feminine, singular, plural. Okay, les magasins sont en face, so the shops are in front of the cinema. Cinema is masculine, so it will be en face du cinéma. On se rencontre, we meet in front, devant won't take de, so you just have to put le, la, les, and because magasin is plural, devant les magasins. Piscine, they live next to the swimming pool. Piscine is feminine, ils habitent à côté de la piscine. Okay. Il y a un parking derrière, behind the museum. Museum is masculine, even if it ends up with a E. So, le musée, la musée, well, le musée. When you're not sure about the gender of a word, say it to yourself aloud because you've heard it before in Language Perfect or in class. And le musée, la musée, which one sounds better to you? If you're not sure, write it down and look at them. Use your photographic memory. And if you do that, you will probably realize that it's derrière le musée. Okay? Est-ce que la gare is the station near your house? Près de. So, est-ce que la gare est près de chez toi? Okay? So remember which expressions take de and which ones don't take anything. And that would, and then after, look at the gender of what is coming after, the word that is coming after. Question 3 is about the different forms of a. As you can see, it can be au, à la, a, and so on in the plural. And it's quite confusing. Often it's hard to remember which is which and when to use them. So here's a little summary. If you say that you live in a city, you will say ah, j'habite à Melbourne. A by itself, because cities don't have a gender. If you say that you're going to a country or a place, you will use au if it's that place, this country or this place is masculine, à la if it's feminine, and au if it's plural. J'habite à Melbourne. En Australie, sorry, of course, I forgot en if it's a place which is a country which is feminine. J'habite en Australie. So remember, en is for all the countries which are feminine or start with a vowel. So j'habite en Australie. If you're talking about food and you say that a food has a certain flavor, in that case, you have to use au, à la, au, and à l'apostrophe. Une tarte au citron, une pizza aux tomates. But if you deal with a juice or a soup, you will say de. Une soupe de tomates, un jus de fruits. Okay? The next one you need to remember is sports. If it's a sport that you play, like, a sport that you play like soccer, rugby, Australian rules, these are sports that you play, The difference from the sport that you do swimming, you don't play swimming. So you play water polo, but you do swimming. So some sports in English you play, some sports you do. So if it's a sport that you play, you have to use O, à la, O, and à l'apostrophe. So je joue au foot, elle joue à la pétanque, nous jouons aux boules. Okay, remember that all the sports which are an English word will be masculine. So je joue au foot, au rugby, au tennis. All these are sports which are taken from the English, so they're all going to be masculine. If it's a sport that you do, you will say du. Je fais de la natation, if it's feminine. Je fais du karaté, je fais du kayak. Okay, so these are the main differences between using a or de. So let's have a look at the exercise. Keep that in mind, keep that little list in mind. That will really help you to do this exercise. Okay, there are some beautiful rooms, number one, in the Château de Versailles. Well, Château is masculine, so you will have to say il y a des pièces somptueuses au Château de Versailles. Oh, because it's masculine. Moi, je prends un sandwich, fromage. So this is food, and fromage is masculine. Je prends un sandwich au fromage. Okay, it's food, a flavor or a topping, which is masculine, so au fromage. Sophie passe le weekend. She spends a weekend in Paris. It's a city, so you just have to put à Paris. Vous avez de la glace. Vanille is feminine, so de la glace à la vanille. Okay. Pour aller au physiotourisme. It's a place. You're going to a place, but this one starts with a vowel. So pour aller à l'office du tourisme, A L apostrophe. 6. As a starter, comme entrée, je recommande la soupe. Okay, in that case, it's a soup. So you could say d'oignon, la soupe d'oignon. But in that case, you could also say à l'oignon. And so une soupe d'oignon ou soupe à l'oignon. Okay, 7. La mère de Rita travaille. She works at a place. Pharmacie. The IE shows you that it's feminine. Le pharmacie, la pharmacie. La pharmacie. Elle travaille à la pharmacie. Okay, number 8. An asparagus waffle. Une gaufre aux asperges. Asperges is plural, so it has to be aux asperges. David plays cricket, so it's a sport that he plays. So il joue au cricket. Comes from the English, it's going to be masculine, so it's going to be au. And when is Nick returning to Besançon? Besançon is a city, so il retourne à Besançon. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Maybe number 6 is the one that you find confusing, and but remember that for soup you could actually say au or de. But in order to make it simpler, I prefer to tell you that everything which is a liquid, juice, or soup is going to be de. That's easy. You can use both, but at least we're trying to make a rule that is going to just help you to remember generally. Okay, the imperative. It's that tense that you use in order to give orders. So when you want to give orders, you use the imperatives. In English, you just go from, okay, you work to work, or you listen to listen. In French, it's the same. You can give an order to tu, to nous, or vous. In English, the nous order, you would say listen to one person, listen to many people. And if you wanted to do, you including yourself in it, in English, you say let's listen. In French, it's so much easier. All you have to do is to take your verb in the tu form, in the nous form, or in the vous form, and take off the subject pronoun. So you go from vous mangez until to manger. And usually you often put exclamation marks, not compulsory. You can put an exclamation mark to show it's an order. So you just take off the tu, the nous, or the vous, and you conjugate the verb normally. So that's the first rule. The second rule you have to remember is in the tu form of an imperative, if you deal with the ER verb or the aller verb, you need to take off the S. So you go from tu vas until you go to va, and you drop the S. Tu manges, you go mange. If you're dealing with an IR verb or IRE verb, you will leave the S. If you're dealing only with ER verbs and only with the aller verb, that's the only case where you will get rid of the S. Now, when you speak, you don't notice that because we don't pronounce the final S at the end of verbs, well, you don't hear it, but you have to remember to take off the S when you do that. Okay, let's have a look at this exercise now. You want to go from it's necessary to wait for your mum, Chloe, and Pauline. So here, sorry, at the example first, you have a look like it's necessary to eat. La salade, les enfants, you go to just simply to eat the salad, children. Okay. Number one, it's necessary to wait for your mum, Chloé and Pauline. You're talking to two people. So, il faut attendre, vous attendez becomes attendez. Attendez votre maman, Chloé et Pauline. Okay. Number two, il faut finir nos devoirs. It's necessary to finish our homework. So you include in that. So you want to say it's necessary to finish our homework. Let's finish our homework. In English, we don't need to say, in French, we don't need to say the let's, we just need to say nous finissons becomes finissons nos devoirs. Finissons nos devoirs. Okay? Number three, you know, Rita, it's necessary to play basketball on Saturday. So you're talking to one person, you say tu, so you will take the verb jouer, and you're going to say play basketball. And so you will say, look at what I'm doing here. Tu joues, that's the verb in the present tense. You want to turn it into an imperative. You take off the tu, and because it's an ER verb, jouer, you also take off the S at the end. Joue au basket samedi. Okay, number four. Tu vas faire tes devoirs avant d'aller au cinéma. D'accord? You are going to do your homework before going to go to the cinema. So you just want to do your homework. And you're talking to tu, so you want the tu form of the verb. Tu fais will just become fais tes devoirs. Fais tes devoirs. Okay, I don't write the rest of the sentence. So, number five. Il ne faut pas prendre le train, Samuel et Thomas. C'est très cher. Don't take the train. It's not necessary to take the train, Samuel and Thomas. It's very expensive. So you're talking to two people and you want to tell them, do not take the train. So you could go from vous prenez, will be you take the train, and vous prenez, look at the conjugation, to a negative, vous ne prenez pas le train, and I will get rid of the vous to make imperative, and ne prenez pas le train, Samuel et Thomas, c'est très cher. Remember, you just put the ne pas around the verb like you will do conjugating a normal verb. So remember, always remember you have to take off the tu, take off the nous, and take off the vous from the verb. Mange, tu manges becomes mange, vous mangez, mangez, nous mangeons, mangeons. But if you use a tu in the ER verb and aller verb, you need to take off the S, but only if you use an ER verb or the aller verb, pretty much va or any ER verb. Question 5 is about ne jamais, the new negation we've seen this semester. You knew ne pas, I do not, ne jamais, I never, and it's going to work exactly like ne pas. So what you have to remember is that when you use ne jamais, you just need to put ne jamais around the verb like you would say ne pas. So je joue becomes je ne joue jamais. Okay? The other thing you have to remember is that if the negation is followed by du, de la, des, un or une, it was going to turn into de after a negative. So je mange du poulet becomes je ne mange pas de poulet. You want to say je ne mange pas du poulet, but you have to say je ne mange pas de poulet. Okay, let's have a look at the exercise. The example is tu regardes souvent la télé, do you often watch TV? And to this you answer non, Je ne regarde jamais. You've got ne jamais around the verb. La télé. Okay? Vous prenez un café, monsieur. You want to say, I never take a coffee. Remember, you're not rewriting the sentence. You are answering the questions. So, je prends un café will turn into je ne prends jamais. Je ne prends jamais. And un is going to turn into deux. Je ne prends jamais de café. 2. Est-ce que Marianne mange souvent de la salade de poulet? Elle, she never eats. Elle ne mange jamais. She never eats de salade de poulet. Not de la salade de poulet. Elle ne mange jamais de salade de poulet. 3. Tu vas à la piscine après l'école. Do you go to the pool after school? I never go. Je ne vais jamais à la piscine. Ok? Je ne vais jamais à la piscine. 4. Est-ce que tes parents voyagent quelquefois en première classe? Do your parents travel in first class? This is vocabulary from Touché 4 Unit 4 that we haven't seen yet in 2016 semester 1, so don't worry about that, but you know what the verb is voyage. And do your parents travel? They never traveled. You could say ils ne voyagent jamais en première classe. Okay? And the last one. Est-ce que vous préparez vos notes pour les examens, les garçons? Do you prepare your notes for the exam? We never prepare. Nous ne préparons. So conjugation is not affected. Nous ne préparons jamais nos notes pour l'examen. The next question in this exam, question 6, is about il faut, a great expression which means it's necessary, you must, we have to. It's everything that implies an obligation. The good thing about il faut is that you don't conjugate it. It's just going to be il faut by itself, and it's followed by the infinitive of the verb, that carries the the obligation. Number 1, for example, or look at the example. Prepare your luggage will just become it's necessary, you must prepare your luggage. Il faut plus an infinitive, il faut préparer. So once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. Number 1, you eat your poutine, okay? So it is necessary to eat. Il faut, it is necessary to eat, manger. I like to translate it by it is necessary to, which is a bit, that's not what you will choose. You'll say probably eat your, you must eat your poutine or eat your poutine in English. But I like to translate it il faut by it is necessary because it mirrors what's happening in French. Number 2, sir, you must finish the class at 12:40. It's Thursday. It's Friday. Fish and chips day. Yay. So it's necessary to finish. Il faut plus finir. Il faut finir. It's necessary to finish. Achetez un plan de la ville, les enfants. Buy a map of the town. Boys, children. It is necessary. Il faut acheter. So you see, it's quite repetitive. Number 4 is a bit different, but not that different because all you have to do is put in a negative. On ne va pas voyager à la gare à pied. We're not going to travel to the station by foot. Now, this one is also about transports that we haven't seen too much because last year, this is exam from last year, and we had done, by then we had done all this vocabulary, so don't freak out. In a 2016 semester 1 exam, you'll only be tested on vocabulary that you know. So, il faut voyager will become il ne faut pas voyager. So, il faut voyager. It's necessary to travel. And to this, you will put a ne pas around faut, which is the verb. So, il ne faut pas voyager. And the next one is the same. Don't take the first street on the right. Il ne faut pas. Ne pas is going to be around faut. Il ne faut pas prendre. You must not take. Well, it is necessary not to take. So you see the limits of translating everything by il faut, but it's just It is don't take the first street on the right. Il ne faut pas prendre. Question 7 is about we and see. Now you had to go to wait until year 9 to find out that yes, we have two ways of saying yes in French. We've got we and we've got si. How do you make the difference? Well, the one you use most of the time is we, because we is when someone asks you a question, what we call a positive question, a question which doesn't have a negative in it. Okay, and si will be the answer yes to a question which has a negative in it. So look at the example. You don't do the dishes, tu ne fais pas la vaisselle. You've got a negative here. So, but yes, I do the dishes. So it's like when you're answering and you're kind of protesting, say, but yeah, duh, yeah, I do that. So, si je fais la vaisselle. So, tu vas prendre le train, you're going to take the train. No negative in there. So, oui, it will be oui. Je vais prendre le train. Je vais prendre le train. Okay? It's not necessary to choose dessert. Il ne faut pas choisir un dessert. There's a negative in there. So, si, yes, it's necessary. You don't have to choose dessert. Oh, yeah, you do have to. Si, il faut choisir un dessert. Okay? Tu as un plan de la ville. You've got a map of the city, don't you? So this n'est pas doesn't make it a negative. I know you've got a ne pas, but don't fall for that one. Tu as un plan. You have a plan of the map, a map of the city. Oui, yes, j'ai un plan de la ville. Okay. Tu ne t'amuses pas. You don't have fun. Don't you have fun? But yeah, I do have fun. There's a ne pas here, so don't you have fun? You would say yes, I have fun. Oui, and it's a reflexive. Oui, je m'amuse. Je m'amuse. Okay? And number 5, you are going to wake up to watch the film using the te se réveiller, which is a reflexive. So, n'est-ce pas? Forget about this ne pas. It's not really a negative. You're going to wake up. Yes, oui, je vais me réveiller. Oui, je vais me réveiller. So, have a look at the question. If there's a negative in the question, the answer is going to be C. But don't see that n'est-ce pas here is optional. You don't need to put a n'est-ce pas at the end. So if you see a n'est-ce pas, don't think, oh yeah, that's a negative. It's got a negative. No, it's only if there's a negative around the verb. So oui, yes to a positive question. C, when you answer yes to a negative question, pretty much trying to correct the statement of whoever is asking you the question. And you've reached the last exercise, question 8, which is about moi aussi, moi non plus, je suis d'accord. Me too, me neither, and je suis d'accord, I agree. So we use the verb je suis. That's why French people say, when they don't speak very good English, they say I am agree, I am agree. But it just means I agree. So you just have to look at the question and guess what would be the most logical answer. Can it be je suis d'accord, I agree, moi aussi, me too, moi non plus, me neither. So use your common sense. Number 1, moi, je préfère déjeuner au café. Me, I prefer having lunch at the cafe. Well, moi aussi. Okay, moi aussi. It's also the case for me. 2, je ne choisis jamais de place côté fenêtre. Vocabulary from Touché for Unit 4. I never choose a window seat. Me neither. There's a negative there, so moi non plus. Moi non plus. The next one. Let's go and visit the castle. Allons visiter le château. Yeah, let's go and visit the castle. Oh yeah, I agree. Je suis d'accord. Je suis d'accord. Okay. Next one. Ses frères adorent voyager en train. Her brothers, love to travel by train. Oh, yeah, me too. Moi aussi. Moi aussi. So use the English and it will become very obvious. Nous n'aimons pas beaucoup ce film. We don't like that film much. there's a negative in there, so me neither. I don't like that film either. Moi non plus. So remember, moi aussi, me too. Moi non plus, me neither. Je suis d'accord, I agree. And je ne suis pas d'accord, with a negation, I do not.